Hi, I'm Courtney Pache, your friendly neighborhood collections technician for human history at the Manitoba Museum. Today I'm going to be talking to you all about garments in our human history collections. During my last video, I showcased a few coats that were unearthed from an ice house here in Winnipeg and are part of our archaeology collection. One of the comments on that video asked what made those coats so special that we would dedicate lots of conservation hours in order to restore them. One of the reasons why those coats are so special is because they represent everyday garments. The museum lacks examples of everyday wear from the 19th century and the early 20th century because of the way that people would be using these garments. People would wear their clothing nearly every day until they wore out and they would be tossed, or unless they were still salvageable enough that they could be repurposed into other things. Could be garments for another person, it could be rags, it could be used as a quilt, or repurposed into underwear. As a result, the collections that we have, which you can see that we have a lot of garments, tend to skew more towards upscale clothing, fancy dress clothing, and in the case of men, usually military uniforms like the ones that we can see here. Even the military uniforms that we have in our collection tend to skew more towards the dress uniforms. So we can see that here in these red garments. Right here is an example of an everyday outfit that was made from other clothing. In the 1930s, Gwendolyn's mother took 3 pairs of her brother's trousers and turned them into this little gray wool suit. She embroidered little tiny flowers with yarn on the lapels, and it was actually entered into a contest about thriftiness and basically the equivalent today of upcycling, and her mother won $2.50 for this particular work. You may be asking yourself, Courtney, I've visited the museum. I've seen people wearing working everyday clothing. So you do have some in your collection, and it's kind of true and kind of not. So some of the stuff that you're going to see on display, like for example here with our Ukrainian family, are prop clothing. So they're clothing that we have researched. We have found catalogs or patterns for these clothing that suit the time period and the culture in question. And we would be creating new garments that would then go on these mannequins. So some of the clothing that we might see in our galleries from sort of that everyday workwear kind of category are actually reproductions. So behind me, I have Mrs. Garvin. She is the wife of an affluent dentist in Winnipeg's South End in the 1920s. When we refitted the gallery that we're in right now with new mannequins, we chose new garments to suit those mannequins. And Mrs. Garvin was actually a huge challenge to dress. We knew we wanted to set the scene in the afternoon in her parlor, and everything that we had in order to fit Mrs. Garvin was all evening wear. So gowns, lots of sequins, lots of beading. Some things were much too young for her. And so we really were left with very little choice in what to dress her in. So we chose this dark green number, found shoes that weren't too flashy, so something she would wear around the house every day. So the work was finding all of the clothing from the period and then whittling it down to what you will find here in the gallery when you visit. Thanks for joining me behind the scenes here at the Manitoba Museum. I look forward to showing you some very cool stuff in my next video.